Hey everyone, welcome back to New Slang. I'm your host, music journalist Thomas Mooney. This is episode 127, where I'm joined by Ace Crayton, the lead vocalist and chief songwriter for Fort Worth's country rock outfit Thieving Birds. I've been such a giant fan of Thieving Birds for, I guess, like the past decade now, which, yeah, that sounds a lot longer in time when you say it out loud. Ace, Bo, and Rody, they've really been great over the years and just kind of been longtime pushers of New Slang. And that really kind of goes to what I've always really dug about them, that they're so down to earth, and that really translates into the kind of music they play. I've always really liked how they embrace these rocking rhythms and these thundering drums and these soaring choruses. Ace's raspy vocals, they kind of give that earthy texture and grit to them as well. And of course, all the while, there's this weight and substance to what they're singing about. They have this new album called American Savage out this week. And what I have found most interesting about this album is how they've been able to take those really core Thieving Birds elements and keep them intact, but also have pushed their own boundaries and their own limits. I probably focused too much on this word during the interview. I kind of describe these moments as being soft, but I guess what I really mean is that they use a finer brush to really paint these moments, to create that sonic soundscape. They've expanded the palette, if you will. There's a lot more fine detail. There's a lot more what I call like these bookends that kind of like present a song, and a lot of tone setting aspects that we haven't necessarily heard as much in previous Thieving Birds efforts. I honestly think it's the best work they've done. Songs like The Way That I'm Wired and Start a War, those are very much tied to those aggressive, raw elements that we've talked about with previous Thieving Birds songs. But what I feel is so much the essence and the spirit of this album, they come in songs like Ruin or Somewhere to Run or the title track American Savage, or even the first, I guess it was the first lead single, My Sweet Baby. Anyway, there's plenty of talk about capturing those elements and being very intentional in the studio and progressing further into the unknown and into these areas with Ace. Today's presenting sponsor is Desert Door Texas Soto. If you know anything about me, it's probably that I'm from the heart of West Texas and absolutely love everything about West Texas. And that's really why I love Desert Door so much. You may be asking yourself what exactly Soto is. Well, it's a premium spirit that's similar to a tequila or a mezcal, but for my money, it's a little bit more refined and smooth. There's a sweetness and faint hints of vanilla and citrus. And it's also as versatile as your garden variety vodka. At its core, Desert Door is authentically West Texas. They go out and harvest Soto plants from the wild and bring them back to their distillery over in Driftwood, Texas. So next time you're at your local liquor store, get a bottle of Desert Door. For more info, check this episode's show notes. If this is your first time listening to New Slang, I strongly suggest hitting that subscribe link. If you just did, I'm giving you a virtual high five right now. New Slang is over on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, and basically any and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Go check out the New Slang merch store, grab a koozie, some stickers, buttons, and magnets. Any bit helps. I'll throw a link into the show notes. And if you're into playlists, go check out Tom Mooney's Cup of Coffee and the Neon Eon playlists over on Spotify. The Neon Eon is for all your nostalgic 90s country needs, which there's going to be more Neon Eon related stuff coming your way pretty soon. And then Tom Mooney's Cup of Coffee is a regularly updated mix of new Americana and country music. It's also a really great hint at who I have coming up on the podcast. So yeah, go follow those. All right, let's go ahead and just get started. Here is Ace Crayton of Thieving Birds. You got this new record coming out, and
finally,
I know I was looking back just to see I was like, okay, obviously 2020, this record, it doesn't feel like Gold Coast is that long ago, but it's 2013.
Yeah, it's been forever.
Well, like, I mean, like,
Uh,
what about, like, I guess, like, obviously you guys probably didn't anticipate it being this long of a period between records, but we're here, you know, and then it's like finally here as far as coming out.
yes, we're on the precipice. Uh, it was a combination of things that made it take so long. For me, uh, these songs were hard to let go of. Like the first two records happened really fast. And it was like we were a band for 2 months or 3 months before we recorded the first record. And then that was 2011. So we recorded that and put it out and played. And then Gold Coast came out in 2013. So it was like bam, bam. And I wasn't always thrilled with how everything came out. I don't know. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure and take more time, but not 7 years. Like I didn't intend to take 7 years.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's between that and just everyone's life kind of changing. Everybody's married. Bo has a kid. Rhodey's married. I got married. And then there was John left the band in 2015, I guess. And the guitar player search, like going through 3 or 4 different guys, and then hearing different parts on all of the new songs from all of those different guys, and going, oh wow, what if this was this and this was this, and rethinking and changing, and then recording and re-recording, and 7 years later, boom, it just kind of happens.
Yeah. What I find really interesting that you said there is like these songs, you felt like it was harder for you to let go of these songs, where some of those from those first 2 records, it's just like, hey, I want to show everyone these songs. That's an interesting. I'm sure a lot of songwriters go through that of, holding on to them because you don't want to let go of them. In that, for you, was it in it where you're unsure how a crowd or like your fan base is going to take them, or was it more so like maybe these songs are too close to you personally? What was the reasoning you say that?
I think because once it's recorded, it's done. Like you cut the record and then that's the way that everybody hears that song forever. And you can release different versions or whatever, but who does that, So yeah, they're done. Like, and some of them I just love, like, Honey, Honey and My Sweet Baby. I toiled away on for forever. Like I've had My Sweet Baby as a song since like 2014. I think I looked back the other day and found like some of the first ideas for it. And so, yeah, you just kind of carry them around like a kid, and then you're afraid of how it's going to turn out. Almost like you're afraid you're going to let yourself down or not do the song justice. I'm very, very selfish with the art of what we do. And I'm not at all usually worried about what's perceived from the outside about the song. I have enough confidence in Bo and Rhodey and Eric producing, and 20 years after starting a career that, you start to get a little bit of confidence in yourself as a writer. So you're pretty sure that you're onto something good, but you don't want it to be less than what it should be. And I think for those first 2 records, it was like, boom, we're in the moment. Let's capture this. And that was okay. There's stuff that could have been done so much differently and so much better. But this was very plotting, and it was just totally different, a different experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like also you're kind of coming off like the high of like, oh, we're going to do this as this band. And hey, we're a new band essentially, right? Like by name and everything. And
for sure. Yeah, we came out with a purpose for sure.
I guess like, you know, you have to bank on that newness, right? The high of like, hey, like let's continue playing and let's go. You're hitting the ground running. And like, you know, obviously this record, you guys are more established. I can definitely understand, like, I guess maybe being a little bit more, not that the new has worn off or anything like that, but like, I don't know, just better understanding of the band, but better understanding of you guys, and like, I guess album making in general.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to go about it. And I think that's sometimes the tricky thing is, yeah, like I even said with guitar players, Trevor Powell ended up playing all the lead guitar on the record, and he did a great job. Like I just fell in love with his tone. He's just got a great style himself, and so he's played just a few live shows with us, really. But it was definitely, after hearing him play on the new stuff, it was like, okay, this is the feel, this is the sound. And he was very good at meeting us in the middle when we were kind of out of ideas, and he had some good ideas. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, every little element, every hand that touches this song that you've spent forever, creating out of thin air, every hand changes it a little bit, you know? So I think that's where the big difference is really sitting back and looking at the songs as a whole and the album as a whole, and wanting it to be as artistically satisfying to ourselves as it could be, instead of just thinking like, oh, this is, you know, maybe this will get some radio play or, you know, anything like that.
Yeah. Well, you know what's, I think just the craft of songwriting, of creating a song, is such a, it's so conceptual in nature anyways. And it's such a weird thing to kind of go, well, you know, I want the final product of this song to sound a certain way, and then just not being able to necessarily describe it. Kind of like going where you're like, well, I know this isn't it, and this isn't it, and this isn't it.
Yeah.
Because we've tried those things, and then it's like, well, this is like 90% there, but I don't know what the final answer is. It's so strange, obviously. And so many other things in life, you can kind of go, well, this is the answer, and this is how we get there. And with art, and especially with something so abstract as songs and sounds and creating sounds, it can just be a lot more of a difficult process to get there. So.
Oh, it's a total wormhole. Like, you can spend forever, especially when you, like, unfortunately, I decided to couple, you know, playing and writing music with working in a recording studio. And so then you get into the whole aspect of, well, I'll just EQ this a little more, and I'll just compress this a little more, and I'll just mix this a little differently. Maybe if I pan these out wide, what if I bring them together? What does this reverb? What does this do? And then, oh God, it's infuriating.
Yeah. Lost in the woods. Just,
and especially I'm so scatterbrained, just 30,000 thoughts a second, that it's hard for me not to just try to examine every little possibility there. But, you know, I think one of the great parts of songwriting is learning to, like, let go, like letting it be and saying, cool, you write this part. I obviously don't know what to do. So, it's giving up that control, and that's not always an easy thing. So it's exhausting. I'm fucking exhausted just talking about it, Thomas. Thank you so much.
I wanted to talk to y'all one more time about our new partners at Desert Door and offer up a handful of my favorite ways to drink it. Get you a Mexican Coca-Cola, have a couple of swigs, Then pour yourself some Desert Door oak aged in. Toss in a lime wedge or two. Or how about this? Pour some Desert Door into a mug. Top off the glass with some ginger beer. Squeeze in a lime. Or for all you ranch water drinkers out there, get you a Topo Chico, take a couple of pulls off, and then pour in some Desert Door. Toss in a couple of lime wedges, and now you have a mighty tasty and refreshing ranch water. Remember, Sotol is as versatile as vodka and has a more refined, smooth, and a more complex palate than tequila. It's rich and balanced, and whatever your go-to drink is, it'll make it that much better. And again, it's inherently West Texas. It tastes like home. For more info on Desert Door, check our show notes. All right, that's it for Thomas Mooney's Cocktail Minute. Let's get back to the show. Well, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like myself, I've always been really hard with letting go of control. And it's like at one point, like I was just so, as far as like my own writing goes, it's like how much editing needs to be done as far as like someone looking at it and changing it. And what I've learned more so than anything, it's honestly, it's not even necessarily like letting go. It's like, I've been able to get better at that once like it hit the right hands,
Sure.
like the right people to edit. And I'm sure the exact same thing has kind of been with you as far as it all comes with trust and like knowing who the best people to collaborate with and like obviously growing into that. Because like, I think for me, once like I realized, oh shit, like this person's a really great editor. It was so much easier to just like, I don't even have to worry about that part anymore. You know what this needs from an outside perspective, just because like that's what that
little wax and polish that it needs.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things I noticed that I really liked about this record, and it's like a lot of these songs, what I would call, they have like these little like intro bookend kind of feels that where instead of just going straight into a song like these, I feel like there's these more like kind of like an elegantness to like the way they intro and outro. Like that's kind of like bookend. And I feel like that had to be very intentional as far as setting up some of these songs like that.
I think so. I think a lot of it came from reapproaching like song structure and not thinking that every song had to have verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. And instead just being like, here's 3 verses with like some little weird stanza tag. And so it left more room. And it left more need for musicality to surround it. Yeah. And, dude, there's stuff like the beginning of Ruin, that little string intro.
Right. Yeah.
That's, we sent 3 songs to Milo Deering to record strings on. And he just totally wrote that little intro for the song, just without being proposed to him. He just thought it felt good, and I got that back, and I was just floored because it's so beautiful, and it ties in really well with a lot of the other stuff, like kind of how Honey meanders around at the end and gets lost, and Oh These Ghosts kind of gets lost at the end with a little waltz, and but that's my favorite, and that was just totally him being brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's what I think is such an interesting part of this record is for lack of a better term, kind of like that softness on it, where I think so much of like what Thieving Birds has been like this obviously like rock and roll, kind of like the aggressiveness of like Kentucky or like Black Canyon Boom, just like really bold.
Yes.
Right? And like a lot of these songs, it feels like there's a softness to it, like a dreaminess to a lot of these songs.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was Bo's doing, because when I first brought a bunch of these songs to the table, his initial thoughts on drums were very dry, because on the first two records he's in a warehouse and there's a lot of natural reverb and everything's big and booming, so everybody's kind of playing up to that, I think. As you kind of build guitar layers and vocal layers and stuff, you have to get up over that sound, and this was very, very dry, just kind of a studio setting, and very tight, very tightly recorded. A lot of ribbon mics, and Eric Herbst, who engineered this and mixed this record once again, did a lot to make sure that the drums were very present and like very cool. And these are some of my favorite drum sounds of Bose. But definitely quieter, I guess, like soft, like you said. And then I think too, just a lot of the reference material that I brought Eric and said, this is kind of what I want the record to sound like, was real soft stuff, like some of the Big Thief stuff, and Damien Jurado, Fleet Foxes. Just stuff that I love the sonic textures on.
Yeah, like some of the, especially like that Fleet Foxes, that kind of thing of the, the mid 2000s Baroque chamber pop kind of folk stuff that. Yeah, that's I can definitely see that being a part of like the, what do you say, like the reference material. The mood board.
Going into record and being like, hey, what are some albums you're digging on? Like for the first two records, we'd bring in Black Crowes records like War Paint, or Before the Frost Until the Freeze, Mojo by Tom Petty, stuff like that. Stuff that was big, guitars up in your grill, and big drums. And for this, it was like, okay, here's a bunch of NPR music.
Yeah. You mentioned how My Sweet Baby, that was a song that you had for a while, like early 2014, that kind of thing. What was like the newest song, like the most, what's like the youngest song?
Somewhere to Run. And that might explain why it's so kind of stripped down. Mm-hmm. But it was very much, I don't think Bo and Rhodey had ever played it before we walked into the studio. And it was just kind of like, hey, let's track this. And if it ends up sounding pretty good, we can throw it on as the 11th song or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, that was the newest. And that's Drew Harakal playing keys on the whole record.
Yeah. Well, like what goes, I guess, into, because obviously like this record wasn't done. This isn't like a quote unquote, like a location record, or like something where you guys just, turned it out in a week or something, where this is like over a much longer period of time in I guess like more spurts than just, we went in and cut a record in a week kind of thing. What do you think that's kind of added to, I guess, like the flow of the record, and like I guess going to some of that, like, I guess where you've allowed yourself a little bit more maybe experimentation and getting it right, because like you've kind of have a little bit more time, even though you're doing it in smaller chunks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed. Was that your question?
Yeah.
You cut out a little bit there in the middle. What the differences are? Or?
Like, what do you think like that added? Like just like being able, like where you've just done it, where these are shorter recording sessions essentially.
Yeah. Oh, I don't really know. I mean, I don't know what it added. Pretty early on, I guess it was in 2015, we started tracking demos. So it was just Bo and Rhodey and I, and we didn't really have a definite guitar player at that point in time. And we just started tracking these tunes just to kind of see what tempos felt good and and for me to kind of start nailing down what I thought melody lines should be. And pretty much from there, like the songs that we had, I kind of knew how I already wanted them to sound. I just didn't quite know how to get them there and who to have help. But then after working at the studio for a little while, the whole time we're kind of working on this project, I'm working at the studio. We've recorded both of our previous albums at Panhandle House in Denton. And it allowed me to kind of it allowed me to see Milo Deering in action, and he's a big part of the record as far as like the biggest peaks of the record go for me with the strings and things like that. And he made a huge difference on the record, just getting it in his hands. And I think other than that, it was just me being able to take the time to sing it the way that it should be sung, I guess, or figure out how that is. Mm-hmm. Not too overbearing and not too lazily, or just kind of finding the right feel for that song in that moment or whatever. Yeah. I guess just refining is what the added value was for taking our time. I think there's a lot that you gain when you step back and look at something instead of just plowing through like we kind of did with the first two. But yeah. I don't know, how would have it turned out if we just would have finished it 4 years ago?
I don't know. There's something interesting about it because obviously like some of these songs you guys have played live in a live setting, part of shows and stuff, and you're able to you've been able to get some feedback off of that. You mentioned going through 3 guitar players, right, and seeing like how they've put their thumbprints, their imprint on like whatever version that was their version. And so I think it's interesting that there's these moments, I guess, where you've been able to, I guess, go out and like collect data, for lack of a better term, on like what the songs are. But then also, you just mentioned how that last song, just kind of Somewhere to Run, where that's just more of you don't really have all that because you said, they like Bo and Rhodey hadn't even played it before you guys went in. I find that really interesting, blending those two kind of things together.
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely worried about was, does this feel disjointed, because some of the songs, the way that I'm wired is probably 10 years old, 9 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess probably 9-ish is more like it. Time Keeps was about 8 or 9 years old. And then, there's stuff that I've been working on for 4 years, and there's stuff that I kind of just put together a couple of months before the record. I don't know. It doesn't feel disjointed to me, and like I'm looking out for it.
Right.
So I don't know. I think kind of the overall vibe of the thing pulls everything together.
Mm-hmm. Well, mind you, like I don't see any of that either, and I feel like it flows well and it feels all the same. I only think like for probably like 99.9 of us out there, people only recognize that if like it's pointed out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By the artist themselves, because like it's never. Yeah, I always love whenever like a band will pretext a song saying like it's a new one, so if it's off, like
nobody's gonna know.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you don't have to even say that. Like, this really happens a whole lot during the songwriter competition at Blue Light, and somebody will say, I just wrote this afternoon, and you're like, oh God, don't say that, because like now we're gonna go, well, we can tell that you wrote this in 10 minutes. But it's also just like you think you're like I guess, taking all the pressure off of the song. And it's like, no, you're actually adding all of the.
Oh yeah, you're just like you're just setting yourself up.
Yeah, it's just, and I don't know. You find like so many people say that, but and then also like whenever you're playing live and you go, oh, this is the new song, for whatever reason, like it cues the people to go, okay, well, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, or like I'm gonna go grab a beer real quick, or
for sure,
and just. You gotta like act like it was all natural, anyways.
Yeah, no, they don't want to hear that shit anyway. They're like, who cares?
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't on a record. I don't know this. That's plenty of people, but there are like, I mean, I don't feel like there's a ton of people at our shows who aren't there because they're not like or because they're being drugged there against their will or something, and they're just. It's usually a pretty cool vibe. The fans are always a pretty good listening room. So I do feel like you also don't need to tell those people because they're like, yeah, it's clearly a new song because I've never heard it before.
Right. Yeah.
So you're right. People should just stop saying that altogether.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where I think that, again,
at what point can you pull it off? Like when you're U2, here's a new song.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh. Yeah. Or Metallica doing the S&M record and dropping like 4-leaf clover in there, or no leaf clover.
Right. Yeah. It's. I'm trying to think of like who could just, like Bob Dylan. Like they don't even know the difference between the old stuff and the new stuff anymore, anyways, because he's changed them so much.
Yeah. Which I also admire. Like when I do think about songs being recorded and being the same forever. Then I think about Bob Dylan and I'm like, man, I can hear like 7 different versions of Lay Lady Lay in my head right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what's to me, what one of the most amazing things with Dylan is obviously like having those 100 versions of all of his songs, but then also like the underrated part is actually having like recordings of them. That's the part that like everyone can change and morph their songs and all that stuff. But it's like, man, someone was kind of looking out and like kept, track of everything here.
Is that part of what made him seem like the most prolific songwriter of all time, because he was releasing the same song like 18, 20 different times?
I would have to say like all the bootleg stuff and the live records, it has to add to it, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah. Like we just, I wrote this song perfectly this time, and then I wrote like a different version of it already too.
And still kicks ass.
Yeah. I love like just how like the attitude of a song can change from, like there's a lot of stuff on, for example, like on that Nashville Skyline where it's obviously that's his quote unquote Nashville country record. And if you listen to it later during like more of the Rolling Thunder review stuff, there's like a little bit of a snarl and like just what I'm thinking about is like Tonight I'll Be Staying Here With You. That song in particular, like this is like post-divorce, and like it's just like there's a live version of it during one of those bootlegs. I think it's like bootleg number 4 or 5. And it's just like a lot more angry and a lot more like you can kind of hear like the sarcastic snarl in his voice, and because he's changed some words and stuff. But I'm going down a fucking Bob Dylan rabbit hole now.
No, that's all right. That's all right. No, but that's really interesting. Like that ties exactly what I was saying earlier. Like thinking about how I want to sing the song, because you think about somebody like Dylan who could really lay back in the pocket or whatever and deliver it real dry and deadpan, and it would come off a certain way. But then if he was, really up in his nose and giving it to you, it would come off a totally different way and make you feel different and make the whole experience and song and recording different.
Yeah.
So that's where we can tie it back in.
Yeah. Well, another guy like that is Neil Young. Right? Like there's like 100 versions of Neil Young out there. What I want to circle this back to though is obviously some of these songs are older that you mentioned that. And when songs are around, I guess this long for you, how do they change? Like, how does a song change for you as far as like your perspective on what do you find new life in it? I guess is what I'm asking over time.
Yeah, I think every time we get to play live, and we don't play live a whole lot anymore. We're not hitting the road every weekend or week anymore. It's more like a show, every 2 or 3 months when that was a thing. And so I definitely don't get as put out with the songs. I'm just like eager to play them.
Mm-hmm.
But then thinking about songs, like we've been playing Oh These Ghosts live for a long time. It's probably the one on the record we've been playing live the longest. And I think just like being able to work that song out live, pretty much like you were saying earlier, and figure out how I like to sing it, how it comes off, how the crowd responds to it or whatever, and trying to capture some of those moments that you've collected data from or whatever over a period of time. So I think that helps. And then I think, writing, this is a pretty personal record. Like I write about a lot of stuff that I care about, whether it's kind of coded or vague or upfront, but just having some emotional investment in the lyrics like that is gratifying, because it kind of takes me to a time and place, or makes me think of something that I don't really think of a whole lot, but I do when I'm singing a particular song. So do you have like music memories? Like if you hear a song, you can remember being in a place, or
Yeah.
kind of that associative.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff where you'll hear a song and it kind of just takes you back, or especially like if you've not, I guess like I would say a lot of times for me, and I think this has to be for a lot of people, if it's a band that at one time, or an artist that was like one time like one of your favorite bands, that's just kind of like slowly falling out of rotation over time.
Mm-hmm.
And because like it can't be a band I guess for the most part, it can't be a band that like you listen to every day, because like there's so many memories. Like you're remembering it, there's like a recollection of, oh, I listened to this song this morning, or whatever.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
a lot of times like there'll be, okay, so for example, one of my favorite bands has been Interpol, and
Okay.
like Turn Off the Bright Lights, like that and like Antics, those to me are like just fall records, and like they just kind of come back into rotation during fall for me, fall, winter. I don't know, it's hard to like listen to them in the summer or the spring, but I always just kind of remember like always listening to those on my old iPod, headphones in, like walking around campus kind of stuff. Like just the coldness of the air. And so, yeah, like I think like obviously I think memories can be tied so directly to a song. And I'm assuming like, yeah, that has to be the case for you guys as writers, where so many songs are written not necessarily as a direct response to something, but
Mm-hmm.
as like usually they're tied to some kind of, you had some emotional response and had to figure out how to get it into a song.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, I mean, Alzheimer's research, like, playing music for people and, just sparking parts of the brain that it's just like an immediate synapse. Speaking of which, did you ever finish the new Fleet Foxes record?
I've listened to it a few times. I still haven't like just given it like the hard listen.
Yeah,
but
it's really happy.
Well, okay, like what I was going to ask you, I was wanting to bring this up anyways. Like what is like your kind of your What do you think is like your favorite of the Fleet Foxes records?
I would have said Helplessness Blues until like the last 6 months maybe. And it's probably Crack Up. Like Crack Up's such a great record. So Crack Up's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I kind of... Oh, go ahead.
And I like sad Robin Pecknold. I want him to be so sad. And I want him to sing about, carving off the hair of someone's young and stuff like that.
Yeah. I still kind of go back to Helplessness Blues.
I just want him to be sad and singing about witchcraft.
Yeah. Well, it's what I gravitate towards that is because of the whatchamacallit, like just kind of what do they call it? What is it called whenever you have I'm going to cut this part.
When you have what?
When you have like an existential crisis. Because like Helplessness Blues is like directly like existential crisis kind of stuff.
For sure.
So that's kind of like where I still go to. That's probably my favorite. And then also just kind of what song is it? Like The Shrine, The Argument, where there's just like the break, the crash, if you will. I don't know. Like that is to me still so moving.
There's so many moving moments on each one of the records, really. I don't think I've found that moment on Shore for me, but I think I'm still coming to terms with the fact that it's a happy record.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad for that now, because I guess he was in a pretty dark place, and artists in dark places oftentimes ends terribly. So that he's been able to sort of break through the other side and wanted to put out something more optimistic. I'm very happy for him, but I still like him brooding.
This episode is in part brought to you by the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, Texas. There is a way to help A, support Blue Light, and B, get a sense of that normalcy by visiting bluelightlubbock.com, clicking on the merch tab, and getting some koozies, a vast array of t-shirts and caps, and yes, even a Blue Light flag. While it is such a bummer that live music is still on hold right now, I'm telling you, by getting some Blue Light Live merch, you're going to feel better. It just feels better wearing a t-shirt and ball cap and helping support your favorite bar. Again, that's bluelightlubbock.com. Click on the merch tab, get some merch. All right, back to the episode. Yeah. But like what I love too about that though is the juxtaposition of sad songs, but like a lot of those songs are so like fun and exciting.
Yes.
Like just I even going back to like their like that EP of theirs with like Mykonos on it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sun Giant, like I'm trying to think
of
what else. Like that's all kind of like really bright and fun and cheery in a way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like Lord of the Rings kind of like whenever you're still in the Shire, you know, like
see, and that's why I think I don't know if it sometimes hits me differently than it hits other, because like I think people listen to Fleet Foxes because it's fun, like, and it is fun. Like it's just a musical journey every time. It's like, wow, I forgot about that. Like, oh yeah, this is coming up. Oh shit, what was that? And then, but for me, maybe I'm just sitting there dissecting it too much. Maybe I'm just like trying to figure out so hard what he's doing to make these beautiful sounds. Mm-hmm. That I'm just not like, I'm not enjoying it like I should be. I should be having more fun listening to these Fleet Foxes records.
Well, I think it's like, it's both though. Like I like both parts of that, is because and that's a very just kind of like an American, like really a big time in like country music. Think of like all the great sounding, like, oh, this, like people who have like misinterpreted like just great, like Born in the USA. That's not even like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
So like there is a lot of that, and that's I think part of it. What I think also though too is like it's, and this is probably a lot of what you're talking about right here with with Fleet Foxes, and then also a lot of like the Bon Iver kind of stuff, is that you can listen to it on two different levels. Or is that just topical kind of like background noise? Oh, I like this record because of the way it sounds. But then also like to really understand those records, like to digest them, you have to like spend a lot of time with them.
Yes.
So I don't know. Like,
there's so much going on to catch the ear that unless you're picking it apart, almost you can't kind of grasp everything that's happening. And that's I just want to grasp it. I just want to understand, because I think those are some of the best records that have been made in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Like it's so. Here's like one of those memory things with Fleet Foxes is that when that first record came out, like the self-titled one, I was working down in Fort Davis, and I used to be subscribed to a magazine called Under the Radar, and they had like reviewed the record, said it was coming out, and it was like, Fleet Foxes, these guys are like from Seattle, they're the next big thing. You're gonna want them. You're going to want this record. And, like glowing, raving review, all that kind of stuff. And there's one record store in Alpine, or at least there was. It was called Ringtail Records. And, of course, I go in there and I have to ask, like, do you have the new Fleet Foxes? Of course they don't. But long story short, he ordered it for me on Amazon, and I picked it up the next week. And so like that's always for me going to be tied to that record, is like following it that way. And then like kind of like going back to that whole thing of like just putting it on the first time and going, oh, okay. And then like it not being just an immediate kind of connection for me. That took time, what I mean?
Really?
Yeah. I think like for me, it took a minute before I realized, like, oh, I do like this. And this is why people were saying it's great. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, it just blows my mind. I think, and I always think it's way more complicated than what it is. And then when I really break it down and I'm listening to it, I'm like, some of this is really simple. Like there's not a ton going on. Sometimes it's just, his vocal or a couple of stacked vocals and two acoustic guitars, but it feels like so much is happening.
Yeah. Well, like
there's so much of that I don't understand how it's coming through like that.
Yeah.
But or I didn't, and then you dig and dig.
Yeah. Well, I also like him as a lyricist. I think he can be super vague. You know what I mean? Like it's very simple in a lot of those songs. If you just go and like look what the lyrics are. And sometimes you're like, oh, this is it, because it feels so much more weighty than that. So
because he's got just that beautiful voice, and he's just stacking that beautiful voice and just kind of letting it wander. But he's so meticulous. I was reading a Rolling Stone thing, and he was talking about the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson. And there's like a 1, 2, 3, 4 count off thing. And that's actually Brian Wilson from Smile. And they got permission to put it on the record because it meant so much to him, because that's where he really figured out that harmonies were like this great way to build tension and add such color and dimension and dynamic to a song. And, I thought that was crazy interesting that it was just, hearing Brian Wilson breaking down how to sing for these 2 or 3, background singers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I feel like that has to go to just like the essence of humanity in a lot of ways. It's the campfire thing, right? Like the gathering part of the hunter-gatherer, like going to the hearth and telling stories, and a lot of times that goes to the harmonies and like joining in community.
For sure.
I don't know. That's, what's weird too, though, or not weird. Thinking back on it now, just that mid 2000s time. I say mid 2000s. It's still going on, but like the indie rock of that time, there was a lot of really, really great voices during. That time. Like them. Obviously, Bon Iver, like I said, My Morning Jacket, like these are some like fucking powerful voices.
Yes, yeah. Incredible voices. Like, would you lump like Dr. Dog into that?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, what a voice.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, like it feels like a little bit of like a golden age. M Ward, I'm trying to think of like some other, like there's a lot of like texture to a lot of these voices too. Like a velvet.
Sure, and they're not like, I think that's what wears me out sometimes is like the super clean commercial voice, and you know, it's all taste, it's all subjective, it's all art or whatever. But then like hearing a voice with real character to it, like you can feel where it's been or that it has this longing, like, you know, it doesn't have to be a Dylan or a Tom Waits sort of character voice, but I don't know, Damien Jurado has just that softness, like so soft, and he's never really shouting, and they must just have his mic gained up like crazy because he's always singing so soft, but there's so much character in his voice, and it's crazy. The human voice is a crazy thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's also like, what I'm thinking about too is like how just because you can like just belt it does, like a lot of these people, a lot of these artists, they hold back so much. And then when like, and my kind of go-to example on this is like that Meta Modern record by Sturgill. There's a lot of times where you're thinking like, oh man, he sings so amazing during this. And if you like really looked at it, he only like belts it like for this little part of the song. And like what you're feeling is all that build up, that tension, that waiting to get to that moment.
Yep.
And then it's the release. Yeah. So I don't know. It's well,
it's the same way on the Sweet Foxes record, circling back to them, because it's like, what's the line? Running over me no matter what I do.
Yeah.
Every day. But yeah, just every once in a while, you know, he's reserving so much, and then every once in a while just lets it rip.
Yeah. Well, see, you brought up that one. I was honestly thinking of Oliver James.
Oh,
in that
God.
song. So,
yes.
But also, like, again, like, we're going back to on Helplessness Blues, the argument, the shrine.
Yeah.
We're anticipating that, and it falls off. Like, you know what I mean? And like, that's what makes that so. I know so many people fucking hated that. And
yeah, I love stuff like that. Like that's why Honey Honey took the direction it did, when it gets all crazy, and then it kind of drops out and goes to that weird time signature change. It was like part of it was like not knowing what to do, and then the other part was just wanting to do something that felt wrong almost.
Yeah. Well, like I think that kind of goes back to what I was talking about with like these songs kind of being bookended, because like, you're kind of, I like that kind of setup for a song, the easing into a song and then like the easing out, almost feels like you're cradling the song more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And like what you're saying there with Honey Honey, and then like what you were talking about with Ruin. I think like that's all these little parts that kind of make the contextualize a song, contextualize a moment on a record. So, yeah. Well, like, what have I guess like, you know, obviously, the pandemic, the 2020, that's kind of just thrown everything. What I wanted to ask about, like, has there been, obviously, like this record 7 years after the last one. Was it pushed back even further, or what was like the plans going in with the record, and like as far as 2020 goes?
It might have hastened its arrival. Like I said, I was working at Panhandle House Recording Studio, and we already had pretty much everything in the can, and Eric shut the studio down just kind of out of precautionary measure, just trying to figure out what was going on. You know, nobody really knew anything. And so, yeah, he was just kind of like, well, if we can, you know, get these couple of things done, I can start mixing in the downtime. So it actually kind of hastened getting it off the ground and getting finished.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, like I kind of expected talking with people to hear more of that here and there, because there's obviously been so many, and obviously you know how like this business is, like it can be like where people just are holding a record for 8 months and okay, now we're going to be putting it out, and then like it being pushed back, and like then, well, maybe we'll try in the summer because the fall should be better, and then of course we hit that and it's like, oh no, actually that's not going to work. So it's good to at least hear that coming from the opposite end of like, no, actually,
yeah,
I had time. We had time to like finish this out.
It's definitely like we're just kind of moving at our own pace generally, and getting in our own way generally. But yeah, it has held back. Like we haven't ordered any vinyl yet, just because, you know, we don't want to order vinyl and have it sitting around and not being able to play shows to really get it sold off. And so just little things like that. But all in all, yeah, it kind of hastened it. And then just the downtime at the beginning of quarantine and sort of being done with the record and finally like letting go of those songs was a huge creative boom for me. Like as far as songwriting goes, it was wanting to kind of ride this into another one and hurry up and keep the juices flowing. So yeah, there's already been a lot of talk about number 4.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, like that's one of those things too, where, you know, so much of the bandwidth goes to putting the record out, getting all that stuff done, and then like after the responsibility, after like having all those boxes checked and kind of like out of your hands going, oh, you know what? Like now I can, I got a lot more, you know, like I said, like personal bandwidth to just, you know, think about other things, think about songs and getting back to that. What, like for that on that side, like what is like your kind of, what's been kind of like your go-to? I know everything kind of comes differently, but what's kind of like your go-to setup if you had like the perfect time to write and kind of get ready to write?
For me, a lot of it's it like happens in the mundane, and that's one thing. I had a conversation with a friend a long time ago, and she was a really prolific writer, and we got on the conversation about like just kind of not necessarily writer's block, but just having the idea for a song or idea of a song or a melody or whatever. And she said it always happened when she was washing dishes or gardening or, you know, just doing the mundane sort of task. And so I think a lot of it is just kind of, it's not like some hand reaching down from the heavens and touching me on the tip of the nose with some brilliant idea, but it's like, just melodies and lyrics or little drum beats or a little hook will happen. And then I generally pull out my phone and I'll hum some off-key version of it. And then I'll sit down with a guitar later and try to figure out what the hell the notes are.
Yeah.
And that's how it generally begins. But sometimes it's lyric first, sometimes it's music first. So a lot of times it's just me repeating words in my head over and over. I don't, until I kind of have a whole idea for a song, I don't really write it down, because I think if I can't remember it, nobody else is going to. Why should they want to? So I feel like I throw away a lot because I don't capture everything, but I also feel like I don't pursue as many dead ends as I used to, trying to write every little song that came into my head.
Yeah. Like just the experience of it. Yeah. The mundane part, I think like that's such a, I feel like a lot of people, a lot of artists and a lot of writers do, they've understood like that, like that's necessary. Cause like for me, for example, when I'm writing something and it's just not going, just walking away and going and doing the dishes or laundry or whatever can like, and then just coming back, sometimes you've collected enough to get onto whatever it is.
For sure. Yeah. It's taking that moment to breathe or whatever and reset and regain perspective. Yeah. And just kind of get out of the forest for a second.
Yeah. One of the things that, I guess like when Robert Ellis was on, this was probably about like a year and a half ago. One of the things he said that he did, and it sounds crazy because it kind of partly is crazy, is like how he, when he's like working on stuff, I think what it was is like, for some reason, I think this is what it is. I don't think like there's no way for me to be able to do it this way, but there is something to it where he would like work on something for 5 minutes and then like take a break for a minute and go do something else. After that minute, come back 5 minutes and just go back and forth for like a 3-hour time period.
Wow.
Something like that. And, now like in a lot of practical ways, it was like, cause he's like saying how you're not able to, have your attention span that long, even if you think you do. Like, and he was talking about like just kind of how I guess if you get into that groove of it, you feel like you get along and can do that. For me, I don't know if I could be productive doing that at all on two different things, especially, you know?
Yeah.
But I've tried doing it, but I've made the times a lot longer. I've done like 20 minutes and like 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. That I can get behind. Cause I do think there is something to like, well, shit, I've just been doing like a stand-up desk. Have you gotten onto the stand-up desk?
I'm
Do you enjoy
standing
this?
at one right now.
Oh my goodness. It's the best.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was such a game changer. Cause I think when I really sit there too long, I don't know, it just shut down or like brain shuts down or something. But if I can twist and jitter and nervously pace in place or whatever, things tend to go better.
I've got one of those boards that you can like go back and forth on. And
what?
Yeah, like it's
like just a seesaw?
Yeah, like basically it's kind of like a skateboard, but like in the middle of it's like a seesaw thing. I'll send you a photo of it here in a minute.
What the hell are you talking about? I feel like you just dropped this like it's a common thing that people know about.
Oh, well, I thought it was. I don't know. I got it. And
this is some sort of secret. See, I look for things like this to buy for gifts and to have nice things, but you know where they're at. You know where to find these.
Yeah, man, it's been really great talking with you today about all this stuff. Thanks for the phone call.
Yeah, sorry we got so all over the place, but that's just how it happens.
I think it's like a necessary part of it. Like that's what people love, embrace the rambling, I guess.
I feel like this is how our phone conversations generally go.
All right, that does it for this week. Big thanks to Ace for coming on the show, talking about the new record. You guys check out American Savage out this week. Check out presenting partners Desert Door and the Blue Light Live. And yeah, I'll see y'all next week.